in the continuation of my hitherto previous lectures, I will take a little bit of your time to explain the relativistic formula of law of velocity of the particle. Okay, so in the last videos we have up till now discussed about the Lorentz transformation and its application like time dilation and the length contraction also here. Okay, so in this video they will discuss about the relativistic formula for the law of velocity, okay, law of addition of velocity as well. So let's talk about it. So the topic of this video is relativistic formula of velocity. Okay, this is also very well known as the law of addition of velocity. So I am writing the another name also, law of addition of velocities. Okay, let's say this is simple velocity. So in order to explain the relativistic formula for the velocity, again we are considering the two frame of references. One is S, this one, which is at absolute rest, okay, and its origin is O, and the second frame of reference, in order to give the different name, let's say this is S dash, which is moving with a constant velocity v with respect to the first frame of reference, and its origin is taken as O dash. Also, hitherto video I have taken O and O dash, which are same, the origin of the two frame references, as the observers also. Okay. To understand the law of addition of velocity, let us assume there is a particle P which is moving with a certain velocity u. Okay. This is the velocity of the particle P. Now let's say this velocity u is very first measured by this frame of reference S by an observer O. Okay, and let's suppose that this particle P takes a small interval of distance dx in a small interval of time dt. In that particular case, the velocity of the particle P measured by O observer in S frame of reference will be u equals dx upon dt, where dx is the distance traveled by the particle P in a small interval of time dt. Okay, so let's say this equation is number 1. Again, when another observer O dash in frame reference S dash measures the velocity of the particle P, then he will observe the different velocity, not u. Okay, because this observer is already in such kind of frame reference S dash which is moving with velocity b with respect to this observer O. So the measurement of the velocity of this particle P from both the frame references will be different. So let's say the velocity of particle P will appear to this observer O dash as u dash. Okay, and that will be again the interval of distance covered by particle P will be differ according to this observer O dash in the time dt. Okay, so that will be, let's say this is dx dash, and the time will also be differ. So let's say this is dt dash. So dx dash is the distance traveled by the particle P in dt time of interval in according to frame reference S dash. Let's say this equation number is 2. Now in order to find the value of dx dash and dt dash, I will use the results of spatial theory of relativity which are come from the Lorentz transformation. Okay, be very well known as the distance and time is non-invariant in under the Lorentz transformation. Okay, and the formula for the distance and the time under the Lorentz transformation is simple, given by x dash equals x minus vt divided by 1 minus under root v square upon c square. This is the distance invariance. Okay, the distance variance. Also, the time under the Gaussian transformation can be written as t dash equals t minus vx divided by c square whole divided by under root 1 minus v square upon c square. To find the value of dx dash and dt dash, we can use these two equations which have come from the Lorentz transformation using the special theory of relativity postulates, right? So to find the dx dash, I can differentiate this equation, and to find the dt dash, I will differentiate this equation. So let me differentiate this equation with respect to variables, keeping in the mind that v is constant as well as here also c is different, c is constant, because v is the velocity of the frame of reference s dash, which is constant with respect to s. Okay, so the differentiation of this equation will be dx dash equal, dx will go as dx minus v is same, this is dt because v is a constant, and divided by this complete factor is constant due to the constancy of the v as well as of c, and this is also constant. So this factor will play as the same role as the constant, right? Again, the differentiation of this equation will be dt dash, and t will go as dt minus, again v is same, and x will go as dx, and this c square will be in the denominator of the v, and divided by this complete factor is again a constant, so let write it as it is. Now let's say this equation number is 3 and this equation number is 4. Okay, in order to find the value of dx dash over dt dash, we can divide this equation number 3 by equation number 4. So dividing equation 3 by equation 4, what we'll get? We will get dx dash over dt dash equal, you can vary see here that the numerator of the equation number 3 as well as of equation number 4 are same, so they will be cancelled out on dividing the equations. So I am only writing the numerators quotient. Okay, so that will be dx minus v dt divided by dt minus v upon c square multiplied by dx. So this is the quotient of the equation number 3 divided by equation number 4. Now in order to make this equation as quite simple, I can take dt as common from the numerator as well as from the denominator. Okay, so if I take dt as common from the numerator, so dt will go in the divide of dx because here no dt is present. Okay, so dx over dt minus this will be v only because dt has taken as common, and that is here. Also divide by dt is taken as common, so this factor will be remains as 1, and minus v divided by c square and the dx divided by dt, and the taken common factor dt is here. Now dt is cancelled by dt. Okay, now in this factor you can use equation number 1 as well as equation number 2, only equation number 1. Okay, so dx over dt is the nothing but the velocity of the particle p observed from s frame of reference by observer O. So from equation number 1 this is simple u, so I am writing, and it is going to equal dx dash over dt. So dx dash upon dt dash equal u minus v divided by 1 minus v divided by c square, again dx over dt. From equation 1 is u. Again you can see here dx dash over dt dash is nothing but the velocity of the particle p measured by observer O dash in frame of reference S dash, and from equation 2 you can directly put it as u dash. So this is nothing but u dash here. So u dash equals u minus v divided by 1 minus, let me write it as ub divided by c square. So this formula is very well known as the law of addition of velocity, because here velocities are additive in nature. Okay, this formula can be written as u plus minus v. Okay, I will write it as later. Also, this formula is known as the relativistic formula for the velocity. Now, what are the physical significance of this formula? So, let's talk about that. So, I am writing this formula again here. The formula is u dash equals u minus v divided by 1 minus ub upon c square. This is our formula. Okay. By the common rule of classical mechanics, you can also find the formula for u in terms of u dash, as this formula is for u dash in terms of u and b. Also, you can go through for the formula u in terms of u dash by replacing v by minus v and u by u dash. Okay, so let's replace v by minus v in order to get the formula of u in terms of u dash. So that will be that u dash will be in the form of u and equal u dash, and this minus v will take the place as v and divide by 1 minus this u will be u dash and this v again will be minus v. So minus and minus will be plus. So this is the formula which is also known as the inverse transformation of law of addition of velocity. Okay, let's look both the formula in the different ways. Okay, so this formula can be seen as u dash is the velocity of the particle p measured from s dash frame of reference. So this is for s dash frame of reference measurement, and this is nothing but the velocity of the particle p but measured in the frame of reference s. So this is for the s. Okay, now if I talk about such kind of particle which moves with the speed of light. Okay, so let's say for the convenient, let's say this particle is let's say photon or an electromagnetic wave. Okay, so in that particular case, if particle p be a photon, then the particular condition, its velocity will be c. So its velocity will be c. So in that particular case, you will check here the velocity will be, let's say u dash. Okay, so u equals, that will be c and plus c divided by 1 plus this will be again c and again this is v and divided by c square. So in that particular case, you can check here, this is as 2c and divided by this is c plus v. Okay, this is c plus v here. Also, you can look at this formula for the same kind of particle p. If I put here u as c, what I will get? I will get from here that will be c minus v divided by 1 minus cv and divided by c square. Okay, this is for that particular type of particle u dash. Okay, so this is c is cancelled by c and this will become c minus v divided by 1 minus v upon c here. Okay, also you can see here it as this will be c minus v divided by c minus v and this c will be going to the multiply as c. This complete factor is cancelled out and this will be u dash equals to c. This is the mathematical interpretation. Now the physical significance behind this mechanism is that when you add the velocity c in the velocity of already c, let's say the velocity of a this, let's say the speed of light is cs. if you add some other kind of velocity c, according to this formula you will get again c from this formula. Okay, so this kind of mathematical interpretation simply shows that if you add c velocity in already speed of light, then you will get again velocity as c. Its simple meaning is that the c, which is the speed of light, is the maximum or absolute maximum value of velocity. So you can not go beyond the velocity of, you cannot go beyond the velocity of a speed of light. So this is the physical significance of this particle. Again, we can compare these two formulas, or this one complete one formula, with the relative velocity of the particle according to the simple theory of relativity. In a simple theory of relativity, if the particle, this same particle p, moves with velocity u, and there are two kind of frame of references again here. One frame of reference is this s, and another frame of reference is s dash. So let's say this s dash is moving with velocity v again. So if I talk about the simple postulates of relativity, then the velocity of this particle p measured by an observer in this frame of reference, s dash frame of reference, will be what? That will be simple u minus b. Because if a bus moves with some kind of velocity and you are at a bike and moving the same direction, let's say this is bus with velocity v and you are riding a bike with velocity u. So in this case you are this particle and this is the frame of reference. So what is the difference between the velocity? That will be simple u minus b or v minus u as well. But when we take these all the consideration according to the spatial theory of relativity, then the formula differ. The formula is this one, not this one. So you can check the difference between the formula. This is u dash equals u minus v divided by this complete factor. Here this factor is absent. Okay, so this is what is the distinguish between the spatial theory of relativity and general theory of relativity. Now let's move towards our another topic, which is very famously known in relativity by the name mass energy equivalence relation. Okay, so hitherto we have derived these some kinds of formula. Now let us talk about this another relation. So you have ever read about the E equals mc square, which is very famously known as the Einstein mass energy equivalent relation. Okay, so what is the mathematical derivation of that particular formula? About that we are discussing in this next part. Okay, so for that let us consider again a particle which is moving some constant velocity or some variable velocity as well. Okay, so let's say this is a particle p which is moving some kind of velocity, let's say v. Okay, and also we can assume that a force exerts on this particle p for a while. Okay, so let's say in that particular condition the velocity of the particle changes and the momentum provided to this particle p by applying some force F can be expressed by simple laws of motion given by Newton. F equals dp over dt. So rate change of linear momentum is simply known as the exerting force. So this is the consideration of this particle p. Okay, now you can easily see here p can be expressed as mb because linear momentum is just a product of mass and velocity. Okay, so that will be d over dt and p remains as mb. Okay, now according to the spatial theory of relativity, when any particle or an object moves with some kind of velocity having some mass, then its mass also varies. Okay, this is the mystery and this is a very interesting fact of the spatial theory of relativity, that mass doesn't constant during the motion. it also varies as the velocity changes of the particle. At some high velocity, mass change at very high rate, okay, and the relation. And the formula for the mass change and the relation is simply m equals m naught divided by under root 1 minus v square upon c square. This is the variation of the mass with respect to velocity v. If a particle p moving with velocity v having some mass m, let's say this particle p having some mass m naught at its rest position, when it was at rest, then its mass will vary when it will achieve a higher speed. So let's say its velocity, when its velocity v is 0, its mass is m naught, and when its velocity is v equals to v, let's say this is v1 equals 0 and this is v2 equals v, and its mass will become m. So the variation of the mass from m naught to m according to the velocity can be find this formula, by this formula, and this formula can be derived by the postulates of the relation of the theory of relativity also. So in the next video we will derive this formula, okay. So I can using the same conditions to derive this condition, okay. So you can simply perceive an idea that mass is not a constant quantity, as well as v is also changing, so both quantities are variables. So in order to differentiate this equation, I will have to use the product formula, okay. So I am using the product formula of differentiation. So that will be m is same, and the differentiation of v with respect to t is dv over dt, and this will be plus, if I talk about v as same, this is dm over dt, right. This is the simple formula what we have up till now, okay. Now if I talk about the distance traveled by the particle p in some instant of time, okay, then what will be that? That will be, let's say in dt time the particle has moved some distance ds, okay. Let's say when you apply the force F, particle was here, and when you just apply this force on the particle p, it moves up to a distance ds for a while dt, okay. Then in particular phenomena, in particular event, you will have to do work, okay. When you apply some force, you will have to do work in order to displace the particle, okay. So let's say this equation is 1, and the work done to move the particle ds on account of force F is dw. Let's say that small value of the work done is dw, okay. In particular case, work can be find it as F into ds. Force times of displacement gives me the work. So I can put the value of force from equation number 1 here. This is m dv over dt and plus v dm upon dt multiplying by ds, okay. Let's solve this equation by multiplying by ds in the bracket. So I will get here m dv ds upon dt, this ds comes at here ds upon dt, and plus v dm again ds upon dt, right. Now ds upon dt is nothing but the velocity, because the rate change of displacement with respect to time is gives me the velocity. So this is nothing but the v. Let me write it as in front of dv. So this is v and dv, and plus v and dm, again ds over dt gives me v, and v in multiply of v will give me v square, and this is dm. This is going to equal the work done by us by an external force on the particle p, okay. Now by the conservation of energy, or the law of conservation of energy, you can simply relate one fact that whatever you have done work, that will consume, that will store in the particle as its kinetic energy. if you apply some greater force, if you does work on the particle, if you do work on the particle P, let's say you have done W work, okay, by applying some force F, then that work will be changed as that of the kinetic energy of the particle. Okay, so let's say this dW has changed into the kinetic energy of the particle as dk. So dW is going to equal as dk. So this is the change in the kinetic energy, because you have changed the velocity of the particle by applying some force doing by on the account of some work done. Okay, so this is going to equal dk. Now let's apply the formula of special theory of relativity of mass, what I have written at there. Okay, so variation of mass with respect to velocity is m equals m naught divided by under root 1 minus v square upon c square. Okay, so we can use this relativity formula into the simple consideration. So let me take a square of this equation. I will get m square as m naught square divided by 1 minus b square upon c square. Its square root will be cancelled out by its square. Okay, let me multiply this complete factor by m square by solving this c square as here. So that will give me m square equals c square minus v square in the denominator, and c square will be here, and that is going as m naught square. Okay, so let me multiply this. So this will give me m square multiplied by c square minus b square divided by c square equals m naught square, right? Again you can take this c square and the multiply of m naught square. So this will give me m square multiply c square minus m square multiply v square equals m naught square c square. Okay, again to match the equation number 2 and that final equation, I can differentiate this equation with respect to variable. So differentiating this equation, I am differentiating above equation. I will get, as m is not constant, it is variable, so differentiation of the m square will be 2m dm, and this is c square as constant, and minus again m and b both are variable, so differentiation of both will be as of the product of variables. Okay, so this will give me m square same, the b square will be 2v dv. Okay, and plus, but this minus will change the plus as in minus again. So now we have done the differentiation of b square and m square is same. Now the term is for m square. So differentiation of m square will be 2m dm and b square will be same. And it is going to equal m naught square c square. As m naught is the rest mass of the particle, which is a constant value, as well as c is also constant, so differentiation of this complete factor will be 0. Okay, now you can easily see in this equation 2m is here, 2m is here, 2m is here, the least terms which can be taken as common and can be go into the 0. So let's take the 2m as common, 2m is common, rest term will be c square dm and minus mv dv minus v square dm equals to g square 0. Okay, now let me take these two terms in the right hand. I will get mv dv plus v square dm equal c square dm. Let's say this equation number is 3. Now interestingly, you can see equation number 2 and equation number 3 are same. Let's check. mb db plus v square dm plus b square dm. The difference is the RHS of this equation c square is dm and the LHS of this equation dk are different, but either part of these two equations are same, so I can equate both the equations. So this complete factor is equal to each other, so dk will be equal to c square dm. So equating equation 2 with equation 3, I will get dk equals c square dm. Okay. Now in order to find the actual kinetic energy, let me integrate this equation with respect to its limit. So let's say the kinetic energy in the initial condition is 0 and after all the kinetic energy will become k. This is dk. C square is constant. The limit of mass will be in the initial condition when kinetic energy was 0. It simple mean that the particle, when particle was at rest, its mass was 0, and when it acquires some velocity v, having the in that particular case when it has the kinetic energy k, its mass becomes m. This is dm. So if I put the differentiation of integration of dk will be only simple k and limit will be of from 0 to k, that will be k minus 0 and this will be c square times of m naught m minus m naught, or k equals c square times of m minus m naught. This is the kinetic energy of the particle. Okay. Now you can simply see here that the kinetic energy of the particle is just equal to the product of this c square, the speed of light square, to the change in the mass. Okay, this is the change in the mass of the particle when it travels some high speed. Okay, its simple meaning is that whatever is the change in the mass of the particle during its motion, multiply that particular change with the c square, you will get the kinetic energy. So if a particle moves with certain kinds of velocity, then its mass also changes. Okay, and whatever the change in its mass, multiply that particular change with the c square, you will get the kinetic energy due to which the particle is moving. Okay, again let's say this equation number is 4. Okay, as we know, the total energy of the particle is simple, the rest energy or kinetic energy. Rest energy plus kinetic energy. Okay, so total energy let's say is E, and that rest energy as we know m naught c square from the simple consideration, because from this equation you can simply lead it as, if I multiply c square by m, that will be mc square minus m naught c square. Okay, and m naught c square will give me the kinetic energy of the particle when it was at rest. Okay, let me write this formula also as here, mc square minus m naught c square. So kinetic energy is equals to the difference between the energies when the particle acquires the mass m minus when the particle had mass m naught. Okay, so this gives me the two kinds of energies difference equals to the kinetic energy. So this is the energy when the particle is moving, and this is the energy when particle is at rest. So in the same consideration, I have taken the rest energy of the particle. So rest energy of the particle is simply m naught c square, and the kinetic energy of the particle is simply this complete factor. Okay, and this is nothing but plus kinetic energy is mc square minus m naught c square. Mathematically these two factors are cancelled out, and the total energy of particle is E equals mc square, which is very famous formula given by very first Einstein. Okay, so this is a formula which is very known as mass energy equivalent relation. From this formula you can also write it as, let me write here, in terms of mass. So m equals E over c square. If you are interested to find the mass of the particle having energy E, then you can go through this particle. Okay, so its simple meaning is that heavier the mass, heavier its total energy. Okay, and whatever the change in its whatever is the energy of the particle, that is a function of mass, and its vice versa is also true. Its simple meaning is that mass can be converted into energy as well as energy can be converted into mass. So mathematically, if you want to find the energy equivalent to a particular mass, then you will have to multiply the c square with respect to bit to the mass in order to find the energy, corresponding energy. Okay, so this is done what our topic was. So the approach of today topic was the simple the relativistic formula for the velocity, and the next one was mass energy equivalent relation. So this is done. In the next video we will derive the complete factor, this one. Okay, the mass energy, the variation of the mass with respect to velocity. Okay, so I think this is enough for this video, unless this video will go longer. So okay, thanks for watching. Let's meet in the next video.